Hi, this is Carrie Van Horn. I'm with Scott Wolf for InsideSoCal.com/USC. We're here discussing the upcoming USC football game versus the Ducks. And what do you think about this being USC's bowl game for the season?
Well, yesterday, my opinion was this is not a bowl game because I think USC's too good to have a game against Oregon as a bowl game just because of how USC's been the last 10 years. But the way I feel is different than the players because I interviewed the players tonight and they all say they think this is the bowl game for USC. Nikel Roby, the freshman corner, he said this is the Super Bowl. Now that doesn't surprise me because he's a freshman, he doesn't know anything, he has no idea what it's like to win a national title, Rose Bowl. So for him it is. But even Ronald Johnson told me tonight that it's like a bowl game because of probation. So that's interesting to me because these guys are elevating this game. You know, the USC teams I've covered, traditionally no game was bigger than the next game, so they didn't get sky high for games. So now we're in a little different situation. So I think it's interesting. We'll see how that affects them. They might come out and play great. Pete Carroll used to be worried if you put a lot of importance on a game because he'd say it makes you press a little bit and you would play worse. So I think it's interesting how USC's making this game into a bowl game.
Okay, well, what do you think about Dylan Baxter being back since the Stanford game?
He practiced today. He looked like he normally does. He's been out, since Stanford, so this is his first practice. So the key is going to be whether the coaches are confident to play him in the game. And if you look at this kind of under the surface, he's been in the doghouse for Lane Kiffin, I think, all season. This will never be something that's said, openly by anybody, but there's a real feeling that he's immature, not responsible. You saw that in training camp with his incident where he missed curfew and had some other issues that I won't get into right now. But that's kind of carried on, I think. I think going to class is still an issue a little bit, so I think that's why we haven't seen him play as much prior to when he got hurt in the Stanford game. So, we'll see. It's the biggest game of the year. Are they going to be confident with 2 or 3 days of practice to throw him out there in the Wildcat? I'm not sure, but maybe they feel they have to go for broke because they're playing a great team this weekend.
Well, talking about a great team, what do you think about the running back that's ranked nationally #1, Michael James, and how do you think that our defense is going to hold up against him?
An interesting story about him, the USC track team wanted him to come to USC, but they couldn't get football to recruit him. He was not, as highly regarded, I guess, as some of the guys that they liked. And, I've written on my blog about some mistakes Pete Carroll's made in recruiting in the previous 3 or 4 years, and I definitely think that was one of them because he's a great tailback, and, other than just the spread offense in general stopping that, I think, how are they going to be able to stop LaMichael James? Can you contain him for a whole game? He's very explosive, so that's going to be a big test for the defense because they got to prove they can stop the run, a running back who's special. And, I don't know if they can do that. We'll see.
Okay. Well, what do you think about Oregon being a second-half team, and with our previous squad and Pete Carroll being known for being a second-half team, how do you think that the first half will be for starters and then how the second half will follow?
I think it's crucial that USC gets off to a quick start. They don't want to play catch-up. And just because of the scholarship limitations and the roster size for USC, they ran out of gas against Hawaii and Washington. So I don't know if they're down, in the third quarter by 2-3 touchdowns. I don't know if they're going to have the energy to come back. I kind of envision their path to success being getting out to a good start, kind of staying even, and then maybe, having the last possession and scoring at the last play of the game, or maybe a similar to the Stanford game scenario. But I don't think it's going to be one of those things where, like with Pete Carroll teams, when they come out in the second half and just steamroller an opponent. I don't think you can do that to Oregon's offense. But I think for USC, they've got to get off to a good start in the first quarter. They can't have a slow start.
Okay, well, that pretty much wraps it up. And thank you again for Inside SoCal. Make sure you follow our Twitter page, and we'll see you later.